Welcome to the How Good Is It? You're going to take a look at Infinite Iroha, which I've said a lot of bad things about during the news, and I'm still going to be honest, when it comes to Madoka and Iroha, which were the anniversary unit last year, Infinite Iroha doesn't really look that good. If you don't have Madoka and Iroha yet, like the anniversary unit from last year, roll for them instead, but if you do already have them, or for some reason you don't care about them, in that case, you might be wondering, how good is she actually? Well, she might actually be on a similar power level, I would say, as the other anniversary unit like Madokami, or Irayachi, and Mokyu, but we need to unpack that because it's not quite as simple as that. There are some caveats to that, but overall, if you just here for the quick, how good is she actually? Yeah, about as good as those guys, but Madoka and Iroha are still easily the best anniversary unit. Let's actually take a look at Infinite Iroha. By the way, the title Infinite Iroha, that's a threat, because they're threatening you that they're going to make an infinite amount of Iroha units, which hopefully that's never going to come to pass. So she has 2 Excelers, 2 Blast Discs. Honestly, knowing the rest of her kit, probably would have been better with 3 Excel Discs, but whatever. Her discs don't actually matter that much, at least at the beginning of the battle, and we'll see why at the beginning of the battle the discs don't matter that much, except for a very, very important thing. Let's get to it. Her type is Infinite, which is basically Ultimate type, so they could have just written Ultimate type, they just like giving new names to types or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, it's basically Ultimate type, which is good because Ultimate type has some decent modifiers for attacking and defending, so that's good. Her Spirit Enhancement, or just in general her stats with Spirit Enhancement, are pretty darn good. They're very offensive, which is really good. You also want to have offensive stats. Don't listen to those SJWs. They're like, oh, we don't want anything that's offensive. You want to have offensive stuff. You want to be offensive in this game. Say the F word to your enemies. It's going to be fine. HP is also fine. Defense is also, yeah, they're all pretty fine, but specifically the attack is good. Now we come to the personal. Now the personal is Excel Draw. Now I just said that maybe the discs aren't that important at the very beginning, except which is when you play your personal. So if you play your personal, then your discs actually become important. Now you might think that if you have a character who I'm going to tell you later is going to be very dependent on her doppel, that you might want to actually have a lot of Excel discs so you can easily get a Puella Excel combo to get as much MP as possible on that unit to immediately shoot yourself all the way over to doppel. But with this unit, you don't want to draw her Excel discs in the first 3 turns of the battle, which sounds crazy. Why would you not want to draw her Excel discs in the first 3 turns of battle? We'll get to it. If you've seen the news video, you already know why. But the fact that she only has 2 Excel discs is actually a positive in this case, at least for the first 3 turns, because if in the first 3 turns you use your Excel draw, specifically in the first turn, because the other 2 turns you're not going to get an Excel combo, you can't get an Excel combo in the second and third turn. Once again, we'll see why in a bit. But on the first turn, you can just use Excel Draw and hope that you don't draw her Excel discs. You want to draw other characters' Excel discs so that other characters can get more of those discs, get more MP on them instead of Infinite Iroha. I'm not going to say it right now because it's going to be important for the entire review. So yeah, the first turn, after the first turn, she gets 100 MP. Base MP. Then after the second turn, she gets another 100 MP. And this is before MP bonus. If you have like a Memoria that gives you 10% MP, and not Excel MP, but just MP, you will get 10% more than that. So with 10% MP bonus, you don't get 100 MP, you get 110 MP. Keep in mind, you also start the battle with 15% of your MP gauge, which is 15% of your full gauge. So if you have double unlock, that's, or modular 5 rather, that's 150. So 15% of 150, that's 22.5, and it does actually respect the 0.5. You just don't see it, but internally it does respect the 0.5. So you are on about 22.5 MP when the battle starts. After the first turn, you instantly generate 100 MP, and that 100 MP gets boosted by your MP bonus, and on top of that, we generate an additional 9 MP from all these SE bonuses. So with just a handful of MP, or if you just get a disc, like an Excel or a charge disc, or if you get hit, you're gonna have a double after turn 1, basically guaranteed, okay? If you have a decent amount of MP bonus, let's say you have an active that gives you like 10% MP bonus or 50% MP bonus, you have a passive that gives you another 10% MP bonus, you're also basically guaranteed to also have a double on turn 3. So you can guess that when you play this unit and you have non-terrible Memoria, you actually have some Memoria that are not terrible, with some MP bonuses, you will just passively have a double on turn 2 and a double on turn 3. And I need to talk about this right now, even though I usually talk about SE later, because this is kind of important for the rest of the unit. So this is why it's actually kind of important not to draw her Excel discs in the first 3 turns, because you want other characters to get their discs, because you know that she is going to get to double on turn 2 and is going to have to double on turn 3. That's guaranteed if you have just a little bit of MP bonuses. Basically guaranteed, okay? At this point, it also becomes important that she has a lot of attack and that she only has 2 Excel, so it's easier for other characters to draw their Excel discs when she uses Excel Draw. So you can see that she does actually have some parts of her kit that make sense. I know there's a lot of bad things about her in the anniversary, and I will still say a lot of bad things about her, don't get me wrong. There are some bad things about this unit, okay, we're gonna get to that in a second, but at least this basic idea of just getting double turn 2, getting double turn 3 is pretty darn fucking scary. It's actually really fucking good. Don't get me wrong, this is really fucking insane. No other character can do this in the game, and this is usually something that happens with anniversary units. Anniversary units usually have something to them that no one else can do, at least at the time. Like at the time when Madokame released, no one else had an EX skill. When the time that Irachi released, no one else had a defensive boost, with basically her entire kit being as insanely fucking powerful as it was. Then what else did we have? Oh yeah, Mokyu, Variable, and Diagonal Blasts, which has only been done again a couple of times. Then last anniversary, we never had a unit that was just this fucking good, just generally. It's like, come on, that was kind of fucking broken. With Barrier on everyone, and like, just generally been broken. And now this time we have the ability to use passive double on turn 2, passive double turn 3. Great, looks alright. Now sadly we need to move on to the rest of her kit. We see the EX skill, regenerate HP, that part doesn't really matter that much. Now the Maga damage up, I kind of dunked on this a little bit during the news, because on one hand I thought that it showed Roman numeral 2, and I thought it meant Roman numeral 2 for the 4-slot effect. It's not. The 4-slot effect has the Roman numeral 3, so it's more. Secondly, and this is the more important part, Roman numeral 2 for Maga damage up, if you look at Maga damage up, is usually 7.5. Usually it's like 1 is 5% and 2 is 7.5%. It's like this for basically every in the game. I'm not going to scroll down, but basically every single character in the game, Maga damage up 1 is 5%, 2 is 7.5, 3 is 10% or something like that. There are some things where that just doesn't line up, because what the fuck are Roman numerals? Why would we even care? And then you have this right here where you would say, okay, Roman numeral 2, that's 7.5%. It's actually 12% for her, because, look, I don't know, it's just, shit doesn't make sense when it comes to the actual numbers in this game. The numbers in this game that get decided probably like 5 seconds before the unit releases. They're like 5 seconds before the unit goes live, a developer probably sits somewhere in front of their computer being like, oh, we still don't know how much percentage this actually gives. Let me just punch in a number really quick. 12% for Roman numeral 2, fucking send it. They don't give a shit. So yeah, for some reason that's like way more than other characters get for this number. So okay, she gets 14% instead of like what this would be otherwise, which is like 10%. So I thought it was going to be 7.5% at 4-slot. It's 14% at 4-slot. So that's almost double, which is a lot better than I gave it credit for. That's at 14%. It's good. It's not game changing, okay? This is not going to be the kind of EX skill that makes you go, oh, I really need to include this character. But if you do, it's a really nice bonus, okay? It's a nice thing to have, but it's not going to make her suddenly broken, okay? It's just a nice thing. Now the connect is... it's kind of boring, to be honest. Like, the regeneration is... she's an offensive character. Really offensive. Like, makes SGWs go, oh my god, how could you? So, why is there... defensive stuff here? Why is defense up? Why is regenerate HP? We don't need that. And the attack up is it's 2.5% better than the normal attack up, which is basically nothing. So it's basically just an attack up connect, which is kind of boring, to be honest. Then with the Maga, more important, the double. So we know that we get a double on turn 2 and double on turn 3. It's attribute strength and damage, which means that since she's light type, because we don't have enough light type characters in the game yet. Okay, I'm not gonna bring it up right now, but there's way too many fucking light and dark type characters in the game, and like 5 void characters or something. Okay. maybe 6. Whew, if we're feeling adventurous, it might even be 6 or 7. Who knows? But this means that you would think it's only good against Dark type, but we'll see in a second that it's not just good against Dark type with its attribute strength and damage bonus. It also revives an ally, which, as we know from all the units in the past, is not a good effect. Every single time a unit releases like this, I get messaged from someone who tells me that this one-time revive was really good, and I bring it up every single time a unit releases that has revive, because every single time a unit like this releases, I get messaged. And yeah, maybe there's 1 or 2 situations where this is good, but imagine if this was not Revive Ally, but literally any other effect of similar or better power level, and it would just be fucking better. Like, this is not a good effect in most cases, and it doesn't fucking matter that it helps you in one case. There might even be a case where stunning yourself might win you the game. Does that mean that stunning yourself is a good effect? Yeah, probably not. It's probably not a good thing to stun yourself, but there might be some quests here and there where stunning yourself might actually be a good thing because it gives other characters more this. So you can always come up with situations where any effect can be positive, right? Give me any effect that has a gameplay impact of any kind, and I would construct a situation where that effect will be good. And the truth is simply that there's just not that many situations throughout the entire life cycle of the game, 5 years now since the 5th anniversary, where Revive Ally really is as good as people might make it seem, okay? If your characters die, make them not die, which sounds like, well, duh, just, if you're poor, just get money. But the thing is, you decide where you spend your gems that you get every time you get a character, every time you play the game. You get Magia Stones, and you decide where you spend those Magia Stones. And you can spend them on a more offensive character that doesn't have to rely on a gimmick like Revive, okay? It's your choice, okay? But that aside, the Revive doesn't really matter that much. This is not a unit that relies on Revive like Asahi, which is the main reason why Asahi kind of sucks, because Asahi relies on Revive, and it's just bad. But at least she has other stuff. She has anti-debuff for 2 debuffs. The fact that it's 2 debuffs is really good, because if it was just 1, it would be terrible. But with 2, you can actually kind of get away with it sometimes, because there are plenty of stages in this game, in 100 Evils, where you get debuffed. Sometimes, but usually if there is a quest where you get debuffed more than once. So having a shield for more than 1 is really good. Like 2 is pretty good. It might actually make you survive until the next double. And then 2 stars Amons as well, which is also pretty alright, but still nothing that's really great. This is really situational. There's, like, yeah, there are quests where this is helpful, but wouldn't it be better if we had something that was good all the time, right? Same with regenerate HP. I've already gone over this before. We have remove stars Amons. Like, all of these effects are just really situational and really defensive, and wouldn't it be great to have something that's good all the time? Something like variable. There we go. So it gives variable to self for 3 turns, which means that, and this is where we get to what I said earlier, the attribute strength and damage from this doppel actually applies to more characters than just Dark type, because after your first doppel, importantly, after your first doppel, the first doppel doesn't get this damage bonus, after your first doppel, the second doppel will then do attribute strength and damage against any unit. At least as far as I know how a variable should work, you should get attribute strength and damage against any kind of enemy with this, which immediately, together with the high attack stat, makes it so you do a lot of fucking damage. This is a really high damage doppel. Now, when I talked about this in the news, I said the following. Yeah, it's a really cool thing that she does that, but the problem is that you only get 1 turn of a Puella combo, and then you have 2 turns where you don't get a Puella combo because you have a doppel on turn 2, doppel on turn 3, which means no Puella combo. And the question is, can you even get someone else to buff Infinite Iroha in that time? Because even if you have a really offensive character, if they don't receive buffs from other characters, like from support buffs, like damage ups, attacks up, anything like that, they're still not gonna do as much damage as someone else who does get these buffs, okay? But then they just snuck something in. They snuck something past everyone else. They went full fucking Metal Gear, fucking Solid Snake being like, fucking Metal Gear, and they snuck something in there. And you know what they snuck in? They snuck in this right here. Full gauge drive, 30% attack up at max health from the SE. Why didn't they show us that in the fucking announcement? Because isn't the announcement supposed to show you the best nodes of that character? And let me tell you one thing, the 9 MP region, I mean, it's good. It's not as good as 30% attack up at max HP. Because this means that now suddenly, it's not actually that important that you get someone else to buff you in the meantime, because you already get 30% attack up at max health. And because on turn 2, you double, which gives you the HP regen with the active. By the way, it gives you barrier and HP regen. It's actually extremely likely that on turn 3, which is when you do the variable burst, you're at full HP. Which means you get this bonus. Which is kind of a big difference from us from the news, from just the news, thinking that, oh, you're not gonna get this. And yeah, of course, you can be like, oh, yeah, but then why didn't you make a statement about this unit when she was only in the news? Because I always say that you should wait for the video where I talk about her full kit anyway. I don't think I said it in the last news video, but I basically said in everything in news video that, like, hey, wait for the actual review video because we don't know the rest of her SE. But also, this still doesn't get rid of her problems, which is, like I said, her connect. That's not really good. Like, her connect is kind of a dead connect in most cases, and like 90% of the effects of her double are kind of shit, to be honest, in most cases. And she would still be way better if she had like some sort of buff to either herself or other characters, be it offensive or defense, because she doesn't give defensive buffs either to other character, like defense up, like damage cut, something like that. She only gives it on connect, which is, it's not a really good thing. So yeah, something like that would have been better. That said, the 30% attack up at max health is really nice, and because she can actually draw Excel discs on turn 1, and the possibility that you draw only other characters Excel discs, maybe even another character's Puella Excel combo, allowing them to get to double fast, so you can do double, maybe double on turn 3. That actually seems pretty likely now, that maybe if you, for example, I keep bringing it up as Mikage because Mikage is just a really good buffer, but you can just put any support when I say Mikage. Like I say, Mikage turn 1 gets an Excel combo because with this you just draw Excel disc for Mikage, which is extremely likely. If let's say you have only Infinite Iroha and Mikage and you use Excel draw, you're gonna almost guarantee get an Excel Puella combo with Mikage. So that on turn, either turn 2 or turn 3, you can use a Mikage doppel together with then your variable Bob doppel from Infinite Iroha with the buff from Mikage, and it's gonna hit like a fucking truck because they're also gonna have the attack of max HP, and it's gonna be insane, okay? But this is also kind of where the crazy part ends, because while this is pretty crazy that you have this really quick 3-turn burst, if the enemy kind of survives after that, I mean, you have variable. I mean, it's really nice that you have variable and you have some HP regen to stay at full HP, but that is kind of where your usefulness ends. Because your connect is bad and your Magia and your double don't really buff the output of your characters. There's no attack up, no damage up, no anything, no Magia up. None of those buffs are in there. So after turn 3, your Infinite Iroha becomes more like a 0 Iroha, where she's just regular Iroha. Regular Iroha is just defensive, like heals, revives a little bit. That's about it. She doesn't really do much. And this is kind of the problem with Infinite Iroha, that after that crazy burst that you can set up is over, she kind of just stands there and she doesn't fucking do shit. She is completely defensive in almost all of her effects. And yeah, having variable is fine. But you know what's better than having variable? Is having damage buffs. Because you'll be like, oh, but she can be effective against every character. But if you're fighting against a Kimochi, which is the most likely use case for this, like if you're really focusing on high-end use cases, if you're really worrying about a Kimochi, if you're fighting against a light Kimochi, just bring a dark type. Right? You can just have a dark type instead of bringing a light type that has to activate variable and keep variable active throughout the entire fight, who doesn't buff herself. Just bring a dark type who actually does buff themselves, like Kush, for example. Kushu does buff herself and is a dark type with added from damage, and she'll perform way fucking better. That said, if you don't have a specialist character like Kushu against a light type, for example, she can just do fine in most situations. This is, I think, the thing that you should take away from this video with Infinite Iroha. She does fine in most situations because her niche of having this turn 2-3 burst is just pretty darn fucking good for exactly what it does. It just doesn't do anything outside of that. But if that's all you want, if all you want is that turn 2-3 burst, she's fucking perfect, man. If you want anything else, it's really hard to justify her existence if you want anything else from her, because she kind of lacks everything else. Also, should mention this as well, in case you've been listening to this entire thing, I've been thinking, oh, is this mirrors? No. Quest only. This is only on quest, which means PvE. This will not activate in mirrors. In mirrors, you will not get the 100 MB, you will not get the turn 2 and 3 doppel in mirrors, okay? Keep that in mind. This is only for PvE, okay? Keep all of that in mind. So yeah, which by the way also means that she has no existence in PvE whatsoever. There's no reason to play her in PvE. In mirrors, she's just out of PvP. I mean, in PvP, she's just out of there. Mirrors, no reason to play her. PvE, that's the only place to play her, and even then she's kind of a, yeah, she does alright in Kimochi if you have nothing else, and for 100 evils, for EX challenge quests, she can be alright for having this really surprise burst if you have really short EX quests, if you have really short 100 evils. Basically every single EX quest is short, to be honest. Every single EX quest dies in 2 or 3 doubles. So EX quests, trivialized. There's no EX quest in the existence of this game that survives against Infinite Iroha turn 2-3 burst. Nothing will survive against that, okay? You've solved EX challenge quests forever. They will never be able to hurt you again. 100 evils, they last more than 3 turns, to be honest. But even then, it's basically, you get 2 waves for free. An enemy, like let's say you are on 100 evils that has 5 waves, 2 of those waves you get for free. Awesome. But then you have to have her on the field for the other 3 waves where she does not really a whole lot of anything, okay? It's kind of a very one-trick pony. If you like ponies, then she's fucking great, okay? And like I said a lot of bad things about her, but she does have her place. She does have things that she's really good at, especially because they fucking hid stuff from us and because they fucking lied to us. But yeah, she is alright. She's definitely not as terrible as maybe some people have thought from the initial news video. Is she better than Marukami, Iriachi, and Mokyu? No, she's not better than those guys, okay? Keep that in mind. She's not better than any of those 3. She's about the same power level. If you don't have Maruka and Iroha is just so much fucking better than any other Ana unit. Maruka and Iroha are probably the best unit in the game, like, overall. If we're talking about, like, every single situation that you could find, you could put this unit in, no matter what situation this unit finds themselves in, Maruka and Iroha just fucking win everything. They win everything forever, okay? So if you only care about gameplay, or if you care about Iroha, because Maruka and Iroha, they have Iroha in there, okay? Roll for them instead. If you already have them, and you can't decide between Marukami and Iriachi and Mokyu and Infinite Iroha, you can pick any of them, to be honest. That's my honest opinion. That was that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe and ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.